Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to the weekly live stream. We didn't have one last week. Welcome, nature lover, Kai, Cindy, Kawa. How you doing? We have a small group tonight, but I moved the normal weekly live. I actually did a surprise live this morning. I apologize. I know Kai said that you tried to chat. I was having some issues, I think, because it didn't look very packed, but what ends up happening is a cell phone service kind of, when there's too many people on the tower, and I actually I haven't gone back to review the footage, but I think once I got into the restaurant, I even lost signal. So that's the only drawback of these live streams, that I'm these surprise live streams. That's what happens sometimes, is that I have either no or weak cell phone service, or the cell phone service. I have two. I have AT&T and I have Telcel, and I usually switch to the best one. Telcel, usually in the central, does me a little bit better, but sorry. But like I told everybody, these live streams, these surprise lives, are raw, unedited, and it's your chance to, Stephanie, how's it going? Actually, Stephanie's comment was the only one that made it onto my live stream. And you actually caught me, Stephanie, at the very beginning of it. So I don't know where I kind of lost everybody, because I started getting this. I use my phone to do it. It's an app that streams live to YouTube. And it started saying when I got into the restaurant that it was, and then it would go from 8 viewers to 0 viewers, then back to 7 viewers. And so I think I was probably cutting out towards the end. So I apologize if I was cutting out, but I'm back in San Miguel de Allende, everybody. Now I know there's some confusion. Someone said, congratulations on the new house. Actually, I originally live in San Miguel de Allende, but we did build a house in Monterrey, and we go back and forth. So I'm back from Monterrey. I did I think I told you in the last live stream, I had doctor's appointments and finally found clear cancer for my 5-year. So now I don't have to do a PET scan every year. I'd like to welcome everybody to this week's live stream. The only issues that I have to address is I'm going to talk about my last video, because I had told everybody that I was going to start doing this, where I'll talk about one of the last videos that I did to kind of make it a subject. But anybody that wants to chime in and ask a question, even if it's not related to the subject, please feel free to do that. And I will stop my speaking. And thanks a lot, Kai, for the congratulations. And thank you, Cindy, for the congratulations too. So if you want to ask anything, this is a Retired Life in Mexico. No will ask me anything. But instead of me just saying, okay, do you guys want to ask something? I try to make a subject so that I can clarify either a video or whatever the subject may be. But one of my last video was about, and I'll try to be as brief as I can, but it was about how I was looking on a Facebook group, and people were talking, and actually I was even looking at some other Facebook groups, and one of the post was that tourists and all these foreigners coming into San Miguel de Allende are raising prices. And that's why it's getting very expensive to live here, and that's why the exchange rate is getting so bad. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been a long journey on my cancer. And actually, thank you, Kai. I want to put your comment up there. Cindy, thank you too. Thank you. And for a second time. And Tom, thank you for a second time also. I really am glad that I don't have to deal with that treatment anymore or anything else, and that I'm out of the woods. You're never out of the woods, but it's better being out of the woods than being in the woods. So, but after 5 years, it's considered pretty much that you're out of the woods. So let's just hope I stay out of the woods for the rest of my life. But getting back to the subject at hand, a lot of misconceptions are, because a lot of the comments were, yep, that's right. All these tourists coming in and driving prices up. And then you had and I hate to say this, and I'm very frank. You had the bleeding heart saying, "Oh, and the local people can't even afford to live," and blah 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 blah. And one individual was quite disturbing because he even said, well, if it wasn't for all us foreigners living here, guess what? Mexico would go broke, basically. Oh, thank you, nature lover. Wonderful news. Best wishes and many, many cancer-free years to come. Thank you. And, one of the misconceptions is, and, the reason why I say this is because I live in a place, and another comment that was made is maybe you shouldn't be using San Miguel. There's other places in Mexico. I would like for you to focus on other places in Mexico. One of the reasons why I focused on this video, and I do agree with the poster that, I've always said this, Mexico's not Cancun, Mexico's not San Miguel de Allende, Mexico's not Guadalajara. Mexico is very different regionally. No matter where you go, it's very different. Whatever region you go to in Mexico, you're going to find it very different. The culture's different. The way they speak is different. So what I tried to do is I tried to keep that perspective. But one of the reasons why I used San Miguel in my video is because if you ever visit San Miguel, and especially when it's crowded, you're going to, there is a lot of foreign residents here. There's certain supermarkets that if you go to, probably 80% of the people speak English. And you probably think by going to certain restaurants that, wow, there's nothing but foreigners here. There's nothing but Americans and Canadians. And that's all I see is foreigners. I don't see any local people. But the problem is that a lot of people live inside a bubble. I talk about this expat bubble. And it's because you go to the restaurants where everybody else goes to. In that particular grocery store that I go to here in San Miguel, where you hear English, usually the Mexican locals don't go to that grocery store. The foreigners do. And that's because they carry goods that they normally don't carry at the normal grocery store. So it may have the appearance that, San Miguel is nothing but foreigners. And if the foreigners left tomorrow, San Miguel's economy would collapse. But I need to tell people something. And it's the same thing in Cancun. You go to Cancun, you go to the tourist areas, you go to the Malecón, everybody's a foreigner. But I brought up some statistics that tourism and expats living here, and he even was pretty rude and said, if all the expats moved out of here, Mexico would go broke. No, Mexico doesn't go broke. And I've stressed this in several of my videos that only 8 to 10% of the GDP comes from tourism, okay? And probably about out of that 8 to 10%, 87% are not foreign tourists. It's actually local tourists. Actually, San Miguel de Allende makes more money off of people from Mexico City than it does off of the foreign tourism, because this is a vacation spot for people coming from Mexico City. I can tell you right now in my neighborhood, there's only 2 Americans that live in my neighborhood. There's one Argentinian that lives in my neighborhood, and the rest are from here, or they're from Mexico, or they're second homes from Mexico City. So this attitude that these foreigners are coming in and gentrifying, and yes, I'm not arguing. There's certain places in Mexico City where expats flock, and yes, there may be gentrification of an area in Mexico City, or there may be gentrification per se in a area in San Miguel, but that's not San Miguel de Allende in proper, or that's not all of Mexico City. That one neighborhood that supposedly has made national news, and as a matter of fact, there's even Mexican activists that have said, Americans need to leave because it's very popular with digital nomads. That's just one neighborhood in Mexico City. That's not all of Mexico City. And so we need to get rid of these stereotypes. And here's the thing. I'm not here to argue a point that, oh, go home, they don't need you. But what I'm here to do is continue with my thing that we need to stay very culturally aware of how, oh, thank you, Lambden, how you doing? Welcome, Lambden. We need to stay culturally aware of how things work. And, that one person that posted that I need to talk a little bit about more other places. Yes, I do, because other places are different. Mexico's not just San Miguel de Allende. Mexico's not just Cancun. And as a matter of fact, someone posted, someone was advertising in my Facebook group, but I also saw it in another expat Facebook group for a finance group. And I see this constantly that, oh, well, I live in, and even one person made a comment on one of my things, and I had to actually delete that comment. And this is one thing that I'm going to be very clear with my YouTube channel, is my YouTube channel is not a platform for politics. It's not a platform to criticize Mexico. It's not a platform to say how much you hate Mexico. It's not a platform to say, but this individual started out with, I live in Puerto Vallarta. If all of us left, if all of us Americans left, Puerto Vallarta, 60% of people would lose their jobs. And that's not true. And weekenders, you talked about Mexican weekenders, they only come in on the weekends, but us people that live here. And then what bothered me, and I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any problem with that, because if that's a constructive argument, and I think that we need to have these discussions. The problem is when he started going off to saying, and you guys, because I guess he feels that I'm Mexican, you guys are China's sending you free stuff to go poison the United States, which he's probably talking about fentanyl. And this is not a discussion for China giving, and the cartels take 1% to 5% of the economy, and the corrupt politicians. And you know what? I will delete comments like that if YouTube doesn't do it already. And it's not because I don't care and I don't want people to express. We need to express our ideas. We need to express our feelings. If you feel that I'm wrong, I have no problem in that. I have no problem in engaging in a very useful discussion for everybody else to share. But we don't need these kind of attacks. Another individual put that, oh, I've been living here for a year. The streets are full of sewage. I can't wait to get back home. And then they even try to pull in the bleeding heart part. Oh, and the locals can't even live on the salaries. And, you know what? If you want to criticize Mexico, go ahead and go home. I'm not here to listen to that. I'm here to help you. If you want, if you want, you can express your feelings and you can have a constructive discussion with me about it. But when you start criticizing and just being mean for the sake of being mean, or just being ugly for the sake of being ugly, or just being, I want to prove you wrong for the sake of proving you wrong, you know what? I don't engage in that. I don't deal with it. And like I said, I don't care about subscribers. I don't care about likes. You can dislike my videos if you want. As a matter of fact, dislikes help my videos get out. People don't understand that, but the more interaction I get with my videos, if you don't like something, dislike it. Dislike it. I don't care, because guess what? The YouTube algorithm will help me. A like counts just as well as a dislike. So, you know what? I don't deal with that, and I'm just going to tell you that right now. But to get back on the subject, the truth is I gave the numbers, and I don't really want to go too much into this. I want to get your questions, because I end up talking all the time, and don't end up getting to people's questions, or Tom M. Let me see here. I can't lie. It hurts my feelings a little bit when I speak fluent Spanish without an accent. Blonde, gray, blue, and I'm always answering in English. It's hurtful. My first time in Mexico was in 1975. You know what, Tom? I can actually relate, because even though I'm Hispanic looking, I'm because I'm half Puerto Rican, I don't look like your typical Mexican national. And a lot of times, also the way I speak, my accent, I have a decent accent in Spanish. I speak fluent Spanish, but at the same time, people can tell. For example, my wife is very good at this. She's real good at this. She actually speaks, she's from the north. And when someone speaks to her, she'll say, hey, sometimes we'll even have a waiter. She'll say, where are you from? Let me guess, you're from Oaxaca. And then the guy will say, yeah, how did you know? It's your accent, your accent. So I don't have your typical accent from any place here in Mexico. My accent is actually from New Mexico, believe it or not. the Spanish spoken in New Mexico is very Castilian, and they use a lot of terms. Actually, my wife sometimes when my dad used to use words, my wife would be like, "That's an old term. They don't use that anymore." I still end up using some of those terms. So what happens is, because of the way I speak Spanish, and maybe they overheard me speaking English to my wife, or I might have been in the line speaking English. They look at me and they'll answer me in English. And I relate to the feeling, Tom. But not everybody's like that. And you know what, Tom? The other thing too is I think sometimes, actually, I can relate to you, Tom. I had that. Let's go on to Hola, Tom. Maybe people spoke wanted to practice English with you. That's why I brought that up. That's the other thing, Tom. Sometimes they want us to practice English. The other thing that I've discovered here in San Miguel, I'll give you an example. I had a meeting Tuesday with, we're actually going to be streaming a live event. It's called the YouTube channel that I stream to is called Live in San Miguel. We streamed Johnny Bergen. I'll put a link in my community tab if you guys want to check it out. But I'm involved with a group that streams, actually records photographs and streams and stuff like that. And one of the things is we were having dinner, and I spoke Spanish, but the other two individuals spoke nothing but English, and we were all conversing in English. The owner of the restaurant came over, and I started speaking Spanish, and he started answering us. And, he was speaking English to the other people, and then he would respond to me in English. But sometimes, to be honest with you, business owners are just trying to impress. Like, you don't have to try to speak Spanish. I speak English. So that's the way it is, Tom. And I do get a little bit offended because I really love the Mexican culture, but what I usually do is, what I tell people is, when they ask me where I'm from, goes back to my video. I say, yo soy americano, pero al mismo tiempo yo soy mexicano, which is I'm Mexican, pero yo soy un mexicano pocho. I came from the other side, but I joke around. That pocho is a derogatory term, depending on how it's used. But it gets some laughs because I'm kind of making fun of myself. But it also is kind of an icebreaker. But pocho, the meaning of pocho being a derogatory term, is that you're not really Mexican. It's kind of an insult. I'm actually insulting myself, but being sarcastic, and it works out sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't. They look at me like, okay, but Kai, I was surprised by how rude and entitled several American Canadians were in Puerto Vallarta. I joined several Vallarta Facebook groups before my trip, but have left them all because people were so nasty. Yes, you know what, Kai? The Facebook groups can be very, very, very mean. Like I said, it even goes down to, oh, hey, Jack, Cecil. Hold on just 1 second here. Jack had something to say here. Hola, buenas tardes. I read that Bob from Hanks passed away. He was always nice and had great conversations about life. Is the restaurant still open? You know what? I don't know. Which restaurant was Jack Cecil? I hadn't gotten to meet him, actually. Not Jack. Hanks, Bob from Hanks, Bob from Hanks. Okay. You know what? I've never been to Hanks, to be honest with you, Jack. Sorry, I'm getting a little confused. I've got a lot of stuff going on my screen right now, but I'm not sure if the Hanks is still open. Or condolences to Bob. Actually, I'll ask around. I have a couple of friends within the community that are a little bit more active. We are not that. I've never been to Hanks, to be honest with you, but I'll check to see if it's still open. And actually, this event that I'm going to be at this week on Wednesday that I'm going to be streaming from is going to be a live rock band, and they're cover bands. And hopefully we'll get the stream going because we're trying to perfect it. But most of those people probably are going to know about Bob, so I'll ask around. I find, or Nerd Uno, I find people on Facebook are generally rude, so I just avoid it. Yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, Nerd, I keep up with Facebook groups and I keep up with some of the comments because of what I do with this YouTube. But sometimes, like I said earlier with my YouTube comments, people just want to be mean and people just want to be argumentative. People think they know it all, you know. That's just the way sometimes these groups turn out to be. And they complain about noise, about all sorts of things. And the problem that I see, to be honest with you, is I've always told everybody it's about expectations. People have expectations that they're going to come here, live here cheap, and they want it. Just like that person says, I came here to live for a year. The streets are full of sewage, all sorts of stuff. Well, you know what? That's what you signed up for. And if you're glad to go back to the United States, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. But don't go expressing your opinion and telling people that Mexico's a piece of trash because you don't like it. Because I love it. I know there's a lot of people here on this group right now that love it. So you know what? That's your opinion. And I understand that. And I respect that. But I don't put up with it on this because I'm here to help people move to Mexico. I'm not here to, and you know what? I've had some very constructive arguments with people where people will say, well, but here's some other stats that prove this. And, I've even gotten engaged in some very constructive arguments, and I respect the person's point of view. And I've seen on the Peso, this ad in my group, there's been some very interesting, actually not in my group, but in the other groups where this individual tried to advertise his investing in Mexico group, some very useful information. And it's very, maybe a valid argument or maybe the person's wrong, but, you can engage in there's a difference between engaging in constructive arguments and just arguing for the sake of arguing. Let me see. Tom, you answered nature lover. That's possible, nature lover. However, sometimes I switch to German. Then I'm responded to in Spanish. That's it. Always try to learn the language of whatever country you live in. Lived 5 years in PR, Puerto Rico. I take it. Actually, I'm half Puerto Rican, Tom. And you know what? That's true, Tom. Even try to do the best you can to learn Spanish. You know what? And it can be fun if you try. And as a matter of fact, we just even went to a place here. It's called Paño, that has French pastries and stuff. And there was a lady there, American lady, and she struggled with her Spanish, but she was able to order everything she wanted. And you know what? The girl that was there spoke Spanish. She spoke slowly. And you know what? I think she got more respect there than us people that were actually speaking Spanish. So, you know what? You do get a lot of respect for just trying to learn. And trust me, most people, if you're trying to learn in the Latin culture in general, the fact that you're just trying to learn goes a million miles, to be honest with you. Jack, okay, currently living in Texas, but past resident of San Miguel de Allende and GTO. Yeah, Jack, I think you came on last time, and you were saying you were living in, you had lived in San Miguel in the past. Blaine, how's it going? How's it going from La Paz, Mexico? I'm tuning in a bit late. Congratulations on the 5-year cancer victory. Wishing many more healthy years to come. Thank you, Blaine. Thank you very much. No, Blaine, actually, I don't have a financial YouTube channel. What it was, Blaine, if you go to my Facebook group, it was somebody that made a post about the exchange rate, and I was going to take it down because one of the things that I don't believe in is promotional. And the only thing what I do, hey, Michael, El Guerito, one thing that I do is that I don't really allow promotions, especially financial type stuff, financial advice, selling property, Now, I do accept some people that want to, they'll ask me, can I promote my property? Or I've had one or two realtors that have been very, very useful in the group that give advice and stuff like that. Then, I feel that a realtor has a right to post in my group promotions because they help other people out with good information. But normally I delete this. But what happened in this case was the individual posted what it was, and he's posted in a lot of expat. I've run into it in several groups, is that he was talking about the exchange rate of the peso to the dollar. And what he was saying is that the peso exchange rate is not only because of foreigners moving in and all of that stuff, and which I just did a video about, and he went on to say that there's certain things such as foreign trade, nearshoring, all of this stuff that I've been talking about, and why the peso has stayed strong. And then he says, by the way, if you want to learn more, join this Facebook group, which is a Facebook group, I guess, in investing in Mexico. So if you go to my Facebook group, I left the post up. I was going to take it down because I don't normally, but the information that he provided was very good. I even responded, someone else responded, this is a promotion. Well, I don't know about that Facebook group, if it's a valid Facebook group, but it's a Facebook group about investing in Mexico, I guess, where people discuss about how to invest your money here, maybe in the peso or whatever. But I only kept it up because of that. But I'll tell you what, Blaine, you can find it on my Facebook group if you're a member. And he's also posted in several other Facebook groups. And it's called Financial Investing in Mexico or something. I don't remember the name of the group. Let me see if I can go to my Facebook page and I can show you the post. Let me see here. It's by a guy by Vin Maru, and it says strong peso will continue. And then he posts a bunch of charts. Here, I'm going to show you this real quick. He posted, this is the post, the strong peso will continue for those wondering. And then he talks about the GDP and then he posts some stuff, but he talks about, if you want to join his Facebook group, the link is somewhere in here. That's what I was talking about, Blaine. I don't do financial stuff. I'm far from it. So I don't give financial advice, and actually, I'm not good at that stuff. I actually have to defer. Believe it or not, I have to defer to my father-in-law, who's an actual economist here. So when I do a lot of my videos on what's going on with the economy, how is all of this stuff, the reason why I get all that information, like I told everybody, I have a whole network of people that I talk to. It's not just me. I talk from my experience, and that's another reason why I use San Miguel de Allende a lot, why I use Monterrey a lot. But I always tell people every place is different. I've traveled to a lot of places. I've been to a lot of places where I guess working with the government that normally expats don't go. So, I've been around, but I don't have the answer to everything. So I have people that I can ask. And that's how I put together my videos. And at Nature Lover, at Tom, I agree. It's best to speak the language of the country you live in, or spending time in. Yes, it is. It really is. And you know what? It takes a lot of frustration out too. Talking about investing or setting up a business in Mexico is an insane long topic. Yes, Michael, it is. There's a lot of bureaucracy. Hey, at least he's putting some stats out there. Yeah, and it is kind of hard to start a business out here. It's insane. The regulations. That's why I want to. And actually, last week when I touched on a particular YouTuber that did videos on comparing class, and he used statistics from official Mexican websites from they were official statistics. NEG is the one that does the statistics for ENEG. I believe it's INEGI. They do statistics for Mexico, and he pulled statistics off the website of what it cost to be what income was considered middle class and what income was considered upper middle class. But what he didn't take into consideration is the cultural differences. For example, you might have a legitimate job during the day, but you may sell tacos at night. Now, like Michael was saying, is it's so bureaucratic that taco stand may not collect taxes. They may just deal nothing but cash. We take nothing but cash. So you might have an individual making $20,000 a year, but making another $30,000 or $40,000 a year on his taco stand, but $20,000 a year is what the individual reports to the government. That's very common here, and cash is king. But at the same time, that person running the taco stand, and before everybody goes out and say, I want to run a taco stand and run only cash and not let the Mexican government know. The problem is with running that taco stand is that if the government, excuse me, I probably hit the mic and I might have made a sound here, but the problem is that if the government ever figures out that you ran that taco stand, the fines and the fees and the bureaucracy that you will go through, just trust me, you don't want to go through it. The fines are 10 times more than what you'll make on the taco stand, basically. Jack, every Tuesday, Banco Mexico issues their national report on financial. They have large reserves of U.S. dollars that they can play with to manipulate the rates up to a point. And it's election year. Yeah, you know what, Jack? You make a real good. Here's the thing that I actually was talking about. This is what I was actually talking about with my peso. You have two elections going on right now. One in Mexico and one in the United States. Right now, because nobody's been elected, and I'm not going to say, oh, so-and-so is going to get elected or so-and-so is not going to get elected or on either side. But regardless of who gets elected, whether this person gets elected in Mexico or that person gets elected, you may have a total difference. And the other thing, too, you have to remember that parties are running. It's not just the candidate, it's the party. So, Jack, a lot of times, a lot of these things that, for example, hey, our peso's going strong, stay with our party. Or the same thing happens in campaigning elections where one may say, you know what, the economy's gone to heck. And you know what, the economy's gone and it's the president's fault. So vote for me. When the president's like, oh, no, but the Republicans are going to take away your Social Security. Vote for me. That's all political stuff. And, I see things on both sides on both administrations where they're trying to garner votes and get tough on things like immigration. So you're going to see it's going to be a very dynamic year. And then when someone new gets elected, regardless of who gets elected, like I said, I don't participate in politics. I live in Mexico, so my concern is about Mexico. And what's going to happen is you may have a total different economic policy starting up. And that's why I always say you can't tell which way the peso is really going to go. It may keep staying strong because the economy's strong, and it may start going downhill in the sense that the dollar may evaluate. Depending on both strategies of both new administrations. So anything can happen. And during an election year here in Mexico, a lot of times it's a very turbulent time, a lot of manipulation of things, not necessarily for, there's just a lot that goes on during an election year. Maybe if the current administration is not cracking down on cartels, they'll start cracking down on cartels. Or if they've been criticized for doing too much, they might lay off. It's a very political year, and it's or the new other candidate or the opposing candidates. Actually, the current administration here in Mexico, the president can only be president for 6 years and serve one term. But you got to remember, the party that's in power wants to stay in power, and it's the same thing in the United States or anywhere else you go. So the candidate that's for the president's party is going to continue to ride off the coattails of the current president. And of course, nobody wants to say anything negative about their party. Of course, I mean, that would be political suicide. So, I'm not here to say what's going to happen. What I do know, and I will tell you right now, that Mexico is going to have the first woman president. The first woman president of Mexico. For the first time in their history, they're going to have a woman president. The two front runners are women. One is from the current party, from the president now, and another one is two parties got together, the PRI and the PAN, and they put up another candidate to run against the incumbent's party. Not the incumbent, because he's going out, the current president is going out, but the president's party. So those are the two people that are in the lead. And so if you pick one or two, number one or number two, it doesn't matter which one's in the lead, because anything can happen. Either way, we're going to have a woman president. So that's one interesting thing. I hear you at, Tom, hold on, because this was a response to Tom. Somewhat pissed that I'm in the U.S., even though I have permanent residency in Mexico, green card, but still have some familial obligations. But when that is over, adios, USA, big time, LOL. And Jack, I hear you. Tom, I'm itching to get back to Guanajuato. Actually, you know what? I don't have any more ties to the U.S. I sold all my houses in the U.S., and I'm here for life, actually. Kai, do you prefer Guanajuato or San Miguel de Allende? Yeah, Jack, see, super peso is a Morena talking point. Yes, it is right now. I'm not going to disagree. Right now, the current president's taking, here's something interesting that I'm going to tell you. Guanajuato, capital all day. Actually, Jack, I like San Miguel, but I like the place where we live. We've really, William, how's it going? Welcome, William. One thing that I will talk about here, and excuse me if I'm making a little bit of noise. I like I said, I have to drink water here sometimes because my mouth gets really dry, and then San Miguel is very dry, but I don't produce saliva like I used to. Talk about cancer. That's one of the after effects that I have to live with the rest of my life. But as long as I'm cancer free, I'm good with it. But one of the things that is very interesting, and this is not a political talk, but George Bush Jr., when he got into power, George Bush Jr. and Bill Clinton, I guess, are really good friends now, but one time, I guess George Bush Jr. said, well, Clinton's economy, because Clinton was president when there was a lot of dot-com booms, and there was a lot of, I guess the United States was left with a surplus. And then when George Bush got there, and many economists said that it was an inflated or an artificial bubble, right? So, but the bubble burst when George Bush was in power. So George Bush said, well, this is all Clinton's fault. And Clinton said, the minute I left, when I was in office, it was my economy. The minute I left and you became president, it's now your economy. And that's what happens. The public doesn't understand long-term economics or whatever. So if the peso's doing good right now, I guarantee you the current party is going to take credit for that. But that's just common sense in politics. I know the minimum wage has been increased exponentially. As a matter of fact, this president has increased the minimum wage more than any other president in the entire history of the Mexican government. So they're riding on a lot of that stuff. Whether it'll get them votes enough to get into power, I couldn't tell you because I don't follow. I follow, but I'm not, astute enough, and I'm on Mexican politics to tell you that I think I know this is going to happen or this is not going to happen. Actually, like I told you, I have to ask people sometimes. Michael, the Mexican peso has been stable. Fiscal and monetary policy adjustments, flow of FDI and local investment, improvements in infrastructure to grow GDP and remittances. Yes, Michael is very, yes, there is more that goes into the peso stability. And that was the reason why I made that video. There's a lot more factors that go into the stability of the peso. And so... you need to look at, oh, wow, Kai, before I go into that. Jack Cecil, thanks. I'm considering studying Spanish in Guanajuato City. You'll like it there, Kai. It's a beautiful city. But there's a lot more that goes into it. Nearshoring, there's a lot of tariffs on China. Yes, China's coming over here to Mexico so that they don't have to pay the tariffs and ship. And somebody said, well, I bought a cap in Cancun. It still said made in Bangladesh. Yes, but it's easier to import goods here to Mexico and then import them into the United States instead of paying the high import duties. So even though stuff is still made in China, it's coming through here. So there's a lot of things that are going on. Here's the other thing about the peso. Liston, hey, Henry, how's it going? Henry Liston, great to see you here. Now, the one thing is that we need to understand that here's the other thing, too, about the peso is really, to be honest with you, for the whole year, yes, it got to its lowest point at 16.6, but it's gone back up. It's between 16 points. So I predict that it's going to stay between 16 and 17. There's people that are predicting that, when the new presidential elections finish, USA is going to come back and it's going to be 24-1. And then other people are saying it's going to go all the way down to 15. The truth is, excuse me, I bumped my microphone arm again. The truth is, we don't know. That's the bottom line. That's the truth. So, would you briefly share your main reasons for selling all your USA properties? Laura, the reason why I sold everything, first of all, I had a house in Texas that I sold. It was paid off, but let me tell you this. I was paying close to $11,000 in property taxes, and it was set to go up because my house was going up in value. And for those of you that don't live in Texas, yes, Texas does not have an income tax, but Texas has to make revenue somehow. Where Texas gets you is on the sales tax and the property tax. I was paying $7,000 on I guess I bought when it was, before the housing market took off. And my house was $250,000 and I was paying $7,000 in taxes. I don't know which state you're from, Laura, but I know I had another house in Santa Fe where I was only paying $2,000 a year in taxes. And it was worth more money than the one I inherited it. And it was more money than the one in Texas. And I was paying more property taxes on that. I was renting the house in both places, but to be honest with you, the profit margin was not there. And I could not manage those properties from 1,000 miles away. I was lucky enough to have family in Santa Fe. The other reason why we made the decision to sell all our property in the United States is property here in Mexico. This is not financial advice because I was just talking about someone advertising a financial channel. But property here, I can tell you my house has doubled in value in 7 years here in Mexico, in San Miguel. I can tell you that my house has gone up in the 2 years I've been building it. It's gone up about 100 and... it's gone up to about 100. It's gone up in value 100,000. It's appreciated. That's what I was trying to say. It's appreciated close to $100,000 in value. Now, tell me where I'm going to get that off of an investment in the United States. I could probably get it out of the stock market if I waited out, but you got to remember, I'm already getting at that. I retired early, but I'm already getting at that retired stage where I can't wait 10 or 20 years for the stock market to give me a 13 or 14 or 15 or 16% yield. And be honest with you, even CDs here are giving a higher yield than what they are in the United States. And we don't have plans to go back, Laura. If I had plans to go back, maybe we'd keep one house. But we don't have any plans to move back. And if I really need to move back to the United States, I've got 2 investments here. I'm, what do they call it? Property rich, but poor at the same time. I'm land rich in the sense that I have all my money tied up in land. I'm not rich, but that's the saying, I guess, in the United States when you own a lot of property, but you don't have the cash flow. That's basically what I did. I put it away in something that I know that's not going to lose money. Property doesn't go down in value here in Mexico. The thing in Mexico you have to understand about property is that people buy, mortgages are very rare here. And so people buy houses in cash here. So when you have appreciation, when someone buys your house, they buy it outright. So it's not like in the United States. I stand to make more money off the appreciation here than if I had a mortgage in the United States. But that's why we just don't plan to go back. And we did a lot of soul searching, and we, I still have ties to the United States, of course, but that's why I did that. And moreover, Mexico wants to benefit from nearshoring. They should start investing heavily in their education system, investing in education towards STEM. Example, El Tecnológico de Monterrey. Actually, Michael, a lot of stuff. My wife graduated from the Tech, as a matter of fact. Actually, she's got her master's degree from the Tech. But yeah, the Tecnológico is a great school. And yes, Mexico needs to start investing in education. But a lot of these companies are bringing their own people over. I know here in Querétaro, Kia has a big plant here. Kia has a big plant in Monterrey. Tesla's moving to Monterrey. But I'll tell you what, Elon Musk is bringing his own engineers in. He's not, but hopefully this is a good thing for the professionals here with this growth in nearshoring. Foxconn has considered, Foxconn is the people that make your iPhone. They've considered making, actually moving here to Mexico. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes that we just don't know what's going to happen. And actually, you never know what's going to happen. And the United States may have to change their trade policies if there's too much nearshoring. There's a lot that goes on in world politics that I don't even get into. So when we try to, but my point here is when we try to predict that it's going to go back up, we can only hope it goes back up to 20. But at the same time, we have to be prepared for it to go down to 15. And that's when I tell people, you need to learn that you're coming here because you move here and you love it here so much that you don't want to leave, because this is not a place where you're just going to live here for, as a matter of fact, I know people that moved here when it was 20-1. Okay, let's say they pay $20,000 pesos in rent. That's $1,000. Now we'll look what they're paying. They're paying close to $1,500 in rent. And then you have people that are on fixed incomes that, wow, I was paying $500 in rent and now I'm paying $1,000. I can't afford that, out of my $2,000 check. Some people live frugally. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting anybody down here for living here for $2,000 a month. I always said that, but you have to be prepared for that. And you can't get upset because all of a sudden Mexico's economy is doing good. I mean, you move to a different country. You can only hope that, that you can still live in the country. Blaine, in Almost Retired in Mexico, La Paz episode, Brian was wearing a t-shirt with your logo. How can we buy one or a dozen of them to support this fantastic group you have created? Blaine, actually, believe it or not, I don't know if you've seen the video that I actually came out on Brighton's show. We did a happy hour with Mariana from Mexico Relocation Guide, and previous to that, he was doing some parodies. He did a parody on Kuru Paul, and I actually sent him a comment, and I said, "Hey, you should do a parody on my channel, and if you do, I'll send you a T-shirt, and I'll send you a shirt." Actually, he used I sent him a polo shirt from that I had made, and he did a parody. He even did a fake goatee. I don't know if you and he called it "Retired Life in Mexico," and then he crossed the no bull. He crossed out the no and put all the bull, and then he made up a bunch of misconceptions about Mexico. And then he said what the truth was. He was being sarcastic and he did my mannerisms and everything else. So that's how he ended up getting one. Actually, Blaine, you're not the first person that's asked me. I've thought about putting up a merch store, for, I guess you can get these T-shirt companies, you can send them your logo. A lot of that stuff, I was doing giveaways, but I kind of ran out of stuff. I bought a lot of stuff in bulk. But if enough people, and here I am reaching out, if you really want me to put together a merch store, I will put together a merch store. I've always maintained, because I know that if I put up a merch store, like I say, I pay to run this channel. I don't get paid to run it. I don't make money off of this. Actually, this is kind of a money pit type thing for me. But I pride myself in not trying to get into the business part of it, because I don't want to be influenced by the profit or people to think that, you're selling shirts because you want to make money. But if I have enough people that really want me to do that, I will put together a merch store with my logo, with coffee cups and stuff like that. Just give me some time. And I will ask if any of you want me to do a merch store and you want to buy my logo, because I've had several people ask me, where can I get one of those cool shirts? I'll do that. Now, the merch stores are all just regular T-shirts, I guess, with iron-ons or whatever. The embroidered ones I had custom made, and I only had a limited number. So if you want me to do a merch store, I'll do it. But like I said, I'm going to make very clear that it's not for the profit. Anything I have had people donate money to me on my free consultations. People say, well, let me at least buy you dinner. You know what? I don't mind, but that's not the purpose of what I do. The purpose of what I do is so that you guys I can help you out. And that's why I do this for free, and I don't do it for profit. Claudia would make a great president for the 2024 election. Well, who knows? Claudia might win. She might. Actually, I think she's the leader, Michael, if I'm not mistaken. So if Sochi wins, I hope I pronounced her name right. If the Morena Party wins, you're probably going to see a lot of the same policies continue. The only difference that I see between this president, the party, I know they already have an agenda. But the one thing that I did notice about this candidate, she's very eloquent. She's got a PhD in, I don't know, it's kind of, I forget, I think it's in chemistry, if I'm not mistaken. She's got a PhD. She's very well educated, speaks very well. Probably most of the rhetoric, probably it'll be a little bit anti-U.S., just like it was with AMLO. But I think she's going to be a little bit more political about it, not as radical of changes. I think she's a little bit more eloquent than the current president. I'm not putting down the current president if any of you are fans. I'm just saying that if she does get not arrested, if she does get elected, she will be a little bit different, but we might see the same policies coming out of the administration, but we may even see something different. Things always change here. Nerd owner, raising minimum wage only brought up prices. Going to OXXO, it's not like going into a convenience store in the U.S. and a candy bar getting a $2. Actually, you know what, nerd? Believe it or not, oh wow, They just passed a homestead. You know what, nerd? When I was there, we had a homestead exemption, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't much. It made like a $200 difference on my, well, $200 is $200, but it only made a $200 difference on my taxes. So that's, one of the things that's a good thing for Texans. I'll tell you what, because I lived in Texas, and you know what? My coworkers used to tell me, "Oh, you don't pay income tax." And I used to say, "Yeah, but what's your mortgage at?" Well, my mortgage, I have a $400,000 home and I pay $250. This was one interest rates, $2,500. And I'm like, you understand that a $400,000 mortgage in Texas, depending on where you live, is almost $4,000. And they were like looking at me like, how? And I'm like, because of the property taxes and the insurance, the flood insurance and all of that stuff. But the insurance isn't that different than everywhere else. But that's good that they passed. I didn't even know that. I haven't kept up with Texas politics. Greetings. Thanks, Ernie. Greetings from southern New Mexico. Oh, wow. Cruces or what part of southern New Mexico, Laura? I spent some time in Las Cruces. Actually, I spent time working in Albuquerque with the U.S. Marshal Service. So let me see here, Michael. Right now, you just need to have your money saved or invested. Right now, buying commodities isn't a great time. Yeah, it's and you need to learn how to adjust to the exchange rate. And here's one thing that I need to say about the exchange rate, and I want to get this very clear. I've noticed prices going up. I've noticed it's like almost equivalent to the U.S. Actually, believe it or not, I noticed Monterrey. We go to Monterrey and we buy groceries, and it's probably the same price as in groceries in McAllen, Texas. But groceries in California, I went to Santa Fe. Groceries in Santa Fe, I only get half the groceries in Santa Fe that I get in McAllen, Texas. So are the prices rising in certain areas of Mexico to the level of certain places in the U.S.? Yes. But let me tell you what, I will still tell you that regardless of the exchange rate, yes, did I love it when it was 20-1? I loved it when it was 20-1. But now it's 16-1. I'm still ahead in the game, to be honest with you. The cost of living here in San Miguel de Allende, if you do it right, is you own your car. I own my house. If you do it right, because that's the way people in Mexico live. They don't live beyond their means. And they own their house, they own their car. And there are things that are more expensive here. Actually, Tom just brought it up. We as Americans have always complained about fuel prices, food prices, et cetera. The rest of the world has always been paying their fair share. Now give Mexico its fair share. And also gas prices here are very high. So not everything's cheaper here. And it depending on where you live. I spend probably half to three quarters the amount of money that I spend in Monterrey when we're there in Monterrey. Your standard of living is still better here with the same amount of money, to be honest with you. If it goes down to 10-1, maybe we'll be like, okay, this is being strapped. But I'm still telling you right now, if it ever goes down to 10-1, that's probably because the value of the dollar went down and inflation went sky high in both places. And even if I move back to the United States, I'll probably be worse off, even if I went back to the States, to be honest with you. Exactly. That's why it would be a great investment in education while combining it with entrepreneurial momentum. And you know what, Michael? I hope Mexico does do that. Mindy, how's the hospital treating for kidney failure? Mindy, here's the issue with kidney failure, or actually, let me put Mindy's thing back on because this is an important issue here. I've talked about private health care and public health care. The issue you're going to have with public health care, if you already have kidney failure, you won't be able to get onto the public health care system because it's the Seguro Social, also known as IMSS. It used to be called Seguro Social. It's still termed as Seguro Social, Social Security in English. But unless you've worked here in Mexico, you're not allowed to get Seguro Social. I mean, Seguro Social is something you pay into in the United States. Social Security, you pay into it, right? Well, this is the same kind of thing here. There's ISTE and there's IMSS, ISTE or ISTE, which is government employees have the special, but they get public health care. They have a special healthcare plan. And then you have Seguro Social. Now, there's a way to get on IMSS if you elect to volunteer to pay every year a fee. The only issue, Mindy, is that you have to qualify for IMSS. They do a full physical. If you have any pre-existing conditions to the point of even taking blood pressure medication, they won't let you onto the public healthcare system. So, and the public healthcare system, believe it or not, people will talk bad about it. Depending where you're at, it can be the best, but it can also be the worst. Now, give me a break. 1 second. Now, if you have some money saved up, probably the dialysis, I will give you an example. I did full radiation treatment here. It cost 25 grand. Probably back, and that's for 2 months of radiation treatment. That was chemo. Now, I got that covered by my insurance. 25 grand compared to what my insurance would have paid. Now, I paid up front, and then I had to get reimbursed. If you have U.S. insurance that will cover you, you're still going to have to cover the cost and get reimbursed. But if you can get private health care somehow, the care is top notch. The equipment they use is top notch, depending on where you go. If you go to Guadalajara, Mexico City, and Monterrey are the 3 top places for healthcare. If you need dialysis, but like I said, and to get on private insurance, there's 2 things that are, if you have a pre-existing condition, they have issues, they won't give you, insure you, or they'll insure you for everything but that condition. Like I have a Mexican private insurance policy along with my wife, but if I get cancer again, I can't use my insurance. So it all depends, Mindy. If you have a good amount of money saved up and a private health care, if it's a matter of, hey, I have insurance here in the U.S., it takes care of everything, then you'll be fine. Staying in the U.S. because it's going to be very hard to get insurance here. If your insurance covers you, what I do is, like I said, I have a high limit credit card. I just pay the hospital. Yes, I have to wait 4 to 6 weeks to get my money back. I pay the credit card back, and that's how I take care of it. If you have an American insurance policy that will do that, not all American policies will cover you. Some American policies, the other thing too that I've heard is they will cover you like out of network. And if it's out of network, you still have to pay 60%. And if you have the money saved up or a good amount of money where you can afford the kidney treatment, I would say that the cost of private health care here is a quarter. I think I brought up, my wife did some female studies, and I actually, in one of my last streams, I actually told you how much she paid for a mammogram. It was like $60. MRI. I've done several MRIs, and they've been $250. In the United States, you can't touch an MRI for less than $2,500 to $3,000, maybe even $5,000 with contrast, depending on where you're at, too. I'll even give you an example. My insurance company, my U.S. insurance company, this is ridiculous, and I'm going to tell you right now, sends me this brochure that says, hey, keep track of your blood pressure. We're going to send you a free blood pressure monitor so we can ensure your health. So I said, sure. Filled out the thing. It even had Bluetooth with an app. And I got the blood pressure monitor. And believe it or not, it was a really nice little blood pressure monitor, but it was something that you go to CVS and you pay $50 for. And I'm going over some claims because I was doing my medical stuff. And you know how much the insurance company paid for that blood pressure monitor? Because I had the claim for the blood pressure monitor. $300. They paid $300 for a blood pressure monitor that I could have gone to CVS or Walgreens and bought for $50. So that's where the state of healthcare is. If you have the money, yes, private healthcare here, and it's better. You have doctors that actually, they give you their personal phone numbers. I am in contact with my doctors even when I'm here in San Miguel de Allende through WhatsApp. Yeah, from 2000 now it's went to 15 to 24, and now it's 16. Yeah, actually, Jack, when I first got here, I was lucky enough to, when it was going up, but when we first moved here, or we're gonna move here, it was at 17 to 1. I luckily bought my house when it went up, but we're not looking at anything different than 7 years ago in the exchange rate, to be honest with you. Just the cost of goods have gone up. And actually, Nerd, you made a good point. I forgot to mention, we get our little fur babies groomed at Petco, and they increased the before the end of the year, actually before the minimum wage. And we asked, why did the prices go up? And they were like, oh, because the minimum wage is going up and they need to pay us. So they're increasing the prices on all their services. Mexico is really improving when talking about no interest loans and finance sector. Actually, Michael, it is getting a little bit better. Also, here's the other thing that a lot of people don't understand about the middle class that I brought up in my video is that the middle class also, especially the working class, they put into this thing called Infonavit. It's kind of like a 401k that when you start working, you pay into this Infonavit. It's a government program. So what happens is you get so many points, and you can use those points towards buying a house. So, for example, my brother-in-law, he's been working for a company for, I don't know how many, 20 years, 30 years here as a professional, and they bought a house not too long ago, and he had a previous house, but he didn't use it in his own Infonavit points, and he literally paid half of the price of his house with his Infonavit, and the other half was savings. So there is the middle class. When you see a middle class person here owning a $300,000 home, they didn't necessarily, they own their home outright, paid cash, but a lot of times they have maybe 10 years of Infonavit points so they can put towards the house. So they don't pay the full 300,000. They may be paid 250, or they may pay 275, depending on how long they worked, or half, like my brother-in-law. So, and yes, Michael, actually the public hospitals probably wouldn't even be an option, to be honest with you, Michael, for Mindy. Cindy, yes, merch, please. Well, I'll tell you what, put it down in the comments below that you want a merch store, and I'll try to start putting one together. Jim Burton, expats are not the ones driving the prices up. Mexicans are, because expats show up with more money than the locals, but we are not ourselves driving up prices. Actually, Jim, it's true. But also, Jim, you also have to remember, I use San Miguel de Allende very, very commonly, or you can talk about Puerto Vallarta. You can talk, and this is one thing about my video that I did say in my video. Mexico doesn't need tourists, and people have used the argument that if everyone moved out of Puerto Vallarta or no tourists came to Cancun, yes, their economy would suffer. I'm not saying that it wouldn't, especially tourist areas that are very heavy. Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, here. If the whole expat community left, yes, people would be out of jobs, and yes, but I'm telling you right now, the economy would survive. It doesn't depend totally on that. And what's driving it up too, Jim, especially here in San Miguel, you have a lot of people, wealthy people from Mexico City, believe it or not. Sonia Diaz actually posted something very interesting. They went to breakfast one day, and there was a Corvette, limited edition Corvette, in the parking lot from Mexico City. A lot of wealthy people come here from Mexico City. And she took a picture of the Corvette and says, see, Mexico's not a third world country. Of course, the first comments were, oh, it's a narco trafficker. It's drug money. Trust me, narco traffickers don't drive around in Corvettes. They're too busy running from the law to worry about driving around in a Corvette. If somebody owns a Corvette here in Mexico, or a Lamborghini, or a Ferrari, that's because they're very rich businessmen, not because they're narco traffickers. Yeah, you know what? Narco traffickers buy a Ferrari, they put it in their garage, and they take pictures on Instagram to show off that they have money. But it's not practical for most traffickers to be driving around in luxurious vehicles, other than Suburbans and armored cars and stuff like that. So what she was trying to prove a point is all of these people that think that Mexico is a third world country and they depend on nothing but expats. She's trying to say, look, there's a Corvette in there. Can any of you in this group afford that Corvette that's worth about $150,000 and actually worth about $200,000 to $300,000 here in Mexico, because the price after importing the Corvette goes up double to triple the amount. Could you afford that? That's the price of a house. So there's a lot of wealthy people that come here. They drop a lot of money. It's not just expats that drop a lot of money. Michael, yes, merch indeed. So I've got a couple of votes for merch. Thank you, Michael. I was wondering in what area they would have the best doctors, near San Miguel or those areas. Mindy, near San Miguel, your best bet is Guadalajara. Or Mexico City, because Mexico City is about 2 hours to 3 hours. Well, depending on traffic, it's more like 5 or 6 or 7 hours. But you're close to Mexico City, and you want to go to a private hospital. And you're also pretty close to Guadalajara. Guadalajara has some of the best doctors in the world. So does San Miguel, not San Miguel, Monterrey. And Monterrey would be near San Miguel. You're looking at Guadalajara or Mexico City. Oh, Stephanie, yes, hats too, please. I will, let me see what I can do. What I'll do, if I do a merch store, I'll put together T-shirts, hats, maybe a polo shirt, coffee mug. I don't know. I have to look into it, because I will tell you, YouTube has come up, like, I know a lot of people make money off of YouTube. And I'm not putting it down, but, you always get these things from YouTube. You can put the link to your merch store and all of this stuff. So I got to see how it works, because I really never looked into it. But give me some time to put it together, and I'll try to put together a merch store. So let's see how it works. But I'm going to need to, I'm a little bit busy right now. And I've been busy with building the house. You haven't seen a lot of videos come out. I try to keep consistent with my live streams. But one of the things that I am trying to do is kind of catch up on my videos and stuff. But merch store will be one thing on my list for sure. Yeah, Matt, actually, 20,000 pesos, the current exchange rate would be actually $1,200 US. Yeah, and I'm not arguing with. I put $1,500, and the reason why I'm saying that, I'm not good at math, Matt, to be honest with you. But I was giving a hypothetical situation here. When I'm talking about actually when the peso got up to 24, like I said, there was people that were paying 500 and maybe more like 800 now. But the point being, and I will throw out numbers sometimes. You're very correct, and I stand corrected. Yes, it is at $1,200. But that person that was paying $1,000, that extra $200, believe it or not, for people that are in fixed incomes, right now the average Social Security check is $1,800. It might have gone up a little bit to it was at $1,700. It's like $1,800 right now. There's a lot of people that live here on an $1,800 Social Security check. They don't own their home, and so you can imagine if I'm paying, you should only pay a third of your income. I'm not good at math. If you want to figure that out for me, Matt, if you could please. But if you have $1,800, okay, and I'm not trying to tell you, Matt, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm trying to say, if you're paying $500 for rent, you find a great place, and all of a sudden that exchange rate goes from 20 down. And whoever gave me that dislike, thank you. The YouTube, you get to feed the YouTube algorithm. And what happens is that now on my budget of $1,800 a month, now $800 is going to my rent, and I have other expenses that are fixed expenses that I have to deal with. Now, can people adjust? Yes. I know a lot of people that have adjusted perfect. And I know a lot of people that say, I still live on my $1,800 a month or $2,000 a month. And here's the other thing. People are going to tell me, how do they get residency? Because of the residency, there's the regularization program. There's a lot of people that live here on $2,000 a month in Mexico. They got in through the regularization program, or they've been living here for the last 15 years with their pension, and it's only $2,000 a month. Maybe $2,000 a month back when they retired was a lot, but now it's not. And so there's a lot of people that live here on a fixed income, and that's my point. My point wasn't that, and I'm only $300 off in the sense. But my point is even if that exchange rate, and here's a good point, Matt, if that exchange rate goes down to 13.3 or 13, that person's going to be paying 15. That person started off paying $1,000, then that person goes to paying $1,200, and then that person goes to paying $15. What if they have a Social Security check of $1,800? What happens? You only have $300 left for food. And maybe if you're renting a little room, or you may be downsized, and you know what? Rent is going up too. People, what used to be I can find rent for $500 and no longer $500 is now $700. She is not Catholic, so that aspect will be lessened in policy. In my differing from AMLO. Yes, and you know what, Jack, I think who you're talking about is the next candidate from the Morena party. Like I said, she's a little bit more academic. And actually, I think her husband's also a PhD in something or another. They're very academic, and they're very academic from an academic background. And you'll find people, I was raised in an academic family, and usually ideas from academics are a little bit different than your mainstream. So we might see some difference, some changes. Denise L. My Texas property tax bill was $1,200 when I sold my house in 2021. I'm very happy to move. Goodbye to that bill. Well, I'll tell you what, my property taxes were reaching $12,000, and I feel sorry. Not that they bought my house, so I can't feel sorry for them in the sense, but their mortgage is going to keep going up because the taxes are going to keep going up. And I went in a 5-year period or a 6-year period, 5 years, I think it was, because I bought it right when we retired. That 5-year period, my taxes almost doubled. Actually, I was paying $6,000 and they were almost getting to $12,000. So I was almost double. I don't know who I was talking about, but the Mexicans I know have been complaining about the cost for years. Yeah. My friend Chris died of that kidney failure in St. Mike, but he drank a lot. Yeah, actually, San Miguel has a private hospital, probably good for emergencies, but it's good for emergencies, but mostly you want to go to Querétaro if you need to really be stabilized. And then the places to go are actually Guadalajara or Mexico City, if you is close to here. Jack's responding, I guess, Tom is responding to Jack. But James, how's it going? My one of my admins in my Facebook group, and he says, welcome, James. I didn't know you were online. I bought a home in San Luis Potosí. Property tax I paid for last year was $75 after my senior citizen discount. There are financial benefits of living in Mexico and owning a home. Yes, and actually, I pay a little bit more I think I've said how much I pay, but I started paying at $200. I don't get a senior citizen discount yet, but I'm getting close. But and actually, I'm about a year out. Well, come this October, I'll be a year out from applying for my next Mexican citizenship. I know I did a video about the disadvantages of being a Mexican citizen, but or dual citizen, but I've chosen to stay here. I'm doing it more for my pride in living here. And I actually mentioned that in my video. There's some people that just want to do it because they just love living here and love the culture. So, but there are ramifications of getting citizenship here. Well, naturalizing, because there's a difference between, there's dual citizens that got their dual citizenship through family. And there's certain issues, there's certain things that if you do as a citizen, you can lose your citizenship, actually, believe it or not. Yeah, I have medical insurance, which covers me here in the U.S. and in Mexico. Yeah, Mike, I have the same thing. It covers me here and it covers me in Mexico. And you said 5,000 USD. Oh, not 5,000. It's 300 USD, I guess, a month. I would take it. And actually, Kai's got a question. What company do you have medical insurance with that covers you both in the U.S. and Mexico? Yeah, if you could give that information, Mike. And I think Innovat also does remodel deals for those who have it. I'm not sure if you're talking about Infonavit or Mindy. Thank you so much for the advice. I will have to stay in the U.S. It's a shame because I really wanted to live there. Someone in, I don't know if it, Jaxie. So Sonia did my residency. LOL. Yeah, Sonia is the one person here that she's the one that she's the expert. That's the one. She's the one here that does the most processes. Actually, I send a lot of people to her. Rick Joyce. Hi, hey, Rick. I just noticed you're on. Welcome. We have an extended family living in Querétaro State on a modest fixed income, and they have been very much impacted by the inflation and the exchange rate. Actually, Rick, my in-laws have been very affected by the exchange rate and the inflation. Believe it or not, my father-in-law had to drop his private insurance. He was a professor. Talk about the technological. My father-in-law was a professor there, and he retired with full benefits. And one of the benefits was insurance. And insurance was getting so expensive, and the price of goods was getting, and it's a modest income. They live in a very modest income. They own their house, of course, and own their car, which helps. But it's been impacting everybody here in Mexico. Oh, Kai, it's called Medi Excel. I've never heard of that, but you might want to check into it. Leon is a bigger clínica especialistas. Yeah, Leon's a big city. I don't know. I'm closer to Querétaro. Querétaro is also a big city. Mindy, someone in the chat has information on insurance covering U.S. and Mexico. Yes, that was Michael. I'm going to put it back on. It's called Medi Excel. Yeah, Mexico is a complicated country. You have the middle class as well as the wealthy. Mexico issue is that 40-something% of the citizens are living in extreme poverty. Yes, that is very true. And you can't really, believe it or not, you can't really gauge the country on, oh, this how much money you need to be considered middle class. Some people that are considered middle class are actually living kind of in poverty, believe it or not. So it's a very complex situation here. There's a very big wealth gap between the middle. There's not much of a middle class, okay? but that is changing little by little. Okay. Yeah. Kai said it's just for San Diego area, border area. Um, William Stoneman, how is the medical in Querétaro? Actually, they have private hospitals there. I've gone to a hospital, not a hospital, it's kind of a big medical complex called Star Medica. Um, the doctors there are young. If you're going to have normal specialists, endocrinologists, stuff like that, I would say that the private healthcare there is very good, very top notch. Now, if you're going to have any kind of major heart surgery, open heart valve, you want to go to Guadalajara or Mexico City because that's where all the top cardiologists, or Monterrey. That's where all the top cardiologists are. Guadalajara has a medical school. Mexico City too. Monterrey has three medical schools. So usually when you find the medical schools is where you're going to find the top surgeons. But we're talking about top-notch medical schools. Monterrey is with the Tech. They also have UDEM, and they also have the UNI, which is the UNAU, which is the public university. Public university doctors are very well known for their investigative. So if you get some type of rare disease or something like that, you want somebody that went to the public university and did investigations or did study or research. The public universities are very well known for their medical research. So it all depends. But I would say in a whole, if you're pretty healthy, Querétaro is a great place to live. If you have major medical problems, you want to be in or near Guadalajara. Now, here's the thing. Querétaro's near Guadalajara. Querétaro's near Mexico City. A couple hours drive, but you're close to those two major places. So you still have a good medical thing that you still have a good. Let me put it this way. How would I put it? You're still in good shape if you live in Querétaro when it comes to medical. Yeah, I bet Querétaro has everything I want. I never go there for some reason. It does, Jack. Querétaro's and it's an up and coming city. It's an up and coming city, and it's a lot of digital nomads. A lot of young people are moving here, and it's growing. It's growing as a major metropolitan area. It is one of the major metropolitan areas, actually. And actually, I'm at 1 hour and 32 minutes. We're having a great conversation. I recommend AXA Seguros. My uncle has it, that insurance. AXA, I think AXA's here. And Jack, some places in San Miguel, but bigger brokers want USD rents. Yeah, actually, Jack, I see that a lot here, and I also see that a lot in Mexico City. You have to be very careful about renting, and you have to kind of look around and not. And you know what? Some of the local realtors are starting to act that way too. Not just because there's a lot of realty companies here that are from the bigger names, and they're a little bit more towards USA prices. Blaine, I'm all for merchandise, but if it's feasible for you, we understand you're busy and not in this for money. It's a way for the community to show support and help promote your brand. Yeah, you know what, Blaine? I totally agree. Like I said, I'll do it. I just, I think if I do it, I'm just going to make very clear that this is, and actually it'll cover my internet bill or something. It'll help me support. Yeah, and I really appreciate it. And I also appreciate the fact that people want to support me. So, I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the fact that, I understand that people want to support, and I understand that a lot of people make money off of this from people's support. And I just don't want to get too tied up in the money aspect of it. And here I am saying that I'm not in it for profit and then, making some money off of it. But I'll tell you what, it's a very expensive hobby, and any help would help. But at the same time, I don't really, and I will try my best. because here's the thing: if the audience wants merch, I will do my best to put out merch, but that's because the audience wanted it, not because I'm trying to make or trying to support my channel here. Oh, you get a veteran tax exemption? Oh wow. And is a veteran's tax exemption very good, Jack? I don't know. I just know about the homestead exemption, and I know it wasn't much, but yes, Jack, you're correct. If you pay early, you get a discount on your property taxes. Yes, you do. Actually, we actually pay before. Oh wow. Hold on, Michael. I just renewed my Mexican passport. Here, the Mexican MIT. Yes, actually, Tecnológico is the Mexican MIT. It actually is. Like I said, my wife studied there. My brother-in-law, who's a lawyer, studied his law degree there. I use him and his resources a lot. He has a whole WhatsApp group of lawyers when I want to ask, when I talk about having resources. Yes, Monterrey is an up-and-coming city. The only problem, Michael, is we're going to have to see how they're going to deal with infrastructure to keep up with all of the companies moving in. They are investing in infrastructure, but they're not totally there yet with the water portion of it. I know Tesla had promised that they would help with the water part, and yep, the haves and the have-nots. Yes, there are a lot of that. There is a lot of that. But you know what? The upper class is up and coming now. Take it. Chapala has Lakeside Medical. Yeah, I've heard a lot about Lakeside Medical, Jack. I've never used it, and I talked to several people that have. I know one person came on my Facebook group and said they didn't want to cover him. And here's the thing. They say they take Medicare also and Medicaid, but here's the problem. And you have to go to a network of doctors. I have a little bit of a problem with this Lakeside Medical. I don't know how they do it, because how do you file a medical claim with Medicare when Medicare doesn't cover you in a foreign country, and they file a claim? So that means it has to be filed in the U.S. from a U.S. doctor. So I don't know if they're involved in something shady. I can't tell you that they are, because I know people have sworn by Lakeside Medical. I don't know if they're not doing something shady. Maybe there's something that they are dealing with Medicaid and Medicare, that they have sort of a, actually an industry it might, Michael. I think that Monterrey is going to exceed. So that is one thing that Lakeside, I never really pushed them. Now, I do know maybe it's Medicare Advantage that they take. I don't know. But I have never really done any. I've heard, and I actually have told people there's this thing called Lakeside Medical Group and actually they have a network of doctors all over Mexico, from what I read from their website. How about a retired life get together? Yeah, that would be great. And I think we've discussed that before in the past. Maybe have a get together here in San Miguel or somewhere else and see if we could do something. So, yes, China has been, that's one of the things I was talking about, Michael. You may end up having your iPhone made in Mexico, believe it or not. 100% exempt. I didn't realize that on the veterans thing. Thanks a lot for that information, Jack. I know maybe it doesn't pertain to Mexico, but people in Texas, I have a couple of friends that are veterans, and I don't know, they should know that benefit, but I'm going to pass that word down to my buddies up there, because I do know some people have complained, and I'm like, and actually I know they're veterans for a fact. So maybe they're just not taking advantage of that veterans exemption. I'm going to make sure to see if they're aware of it. South Korea is resumed, or it's about to resume flights from Monterrey to Seoul. flying Aeromexico. I didn't know that. Yeah, you know what? A lot of international flights to Monterrey. Actually, we're going for Guatemala. We're going to Monterrey. We're going through the Monterrey airport. We're not going on a direct flight, but there's gonna be a lot of direct flights from Monterrey. Usually, you used to have to go through Mexico City all the time. Now Monterrey has direct flights to Colombia. We took a direct flight to Costa Rica. So there's right now there's one to Bogota, Colombia, that we haven't looked into, but there's a lot of flights coming out of Mexico City. James, there's a difference between covering expenses and making profit when it comes to the merch. Yeah, I understand, James. And actually, I'm one of the reasons why I'm open to doing a merch store, other than the work that I have to put into it to research and see how to integrate it into the YouTube. And because I know it looks really cool when I go to certain channels and you can buy merch. I will tell you, probably I won't, the one who makes the money is the t-shirt company, because I have done this before. Previously, I used to have a website where I used to be into computer forensics, and I actually used to I developed a tool for computer forensics at the time, and I used to sell merch. And really, to be honest with you, you get to mark it up whatever you want, but you mark it up $1 because it's already expensive to begin with. The one that's making the money is a t-shirt company. So if I do sell t-shirts, I know I'm only going to be selling, 10, 15, 5, 10, 2, 3. So I know I'm not going to be making much money. So probably it won't even cover expenses. So that's why I'm willing to do it. And especially if you guys want it. Veterans have foreign medical programs, so it's a repayment system. I didn't know that, Jack. And the other thing too, Jack, and I do know that veterans can go to military bases. I have an uncle who lives in Spain. He's a retired Air Force, and he lives in Sevilla, and he goes to the Air Force base for all of his medical. But the only problem with Mexico is we don't have a military base here. So VA covers veterans for service-connected injuries worldwide on a repayment or treatment. Actually, Jack, I have a bunch of friends that are actually have some service-connected injuries from the Iraq War, and I know that they do get disability benefits from the VA. But I know one of those guys was paying property taxes. So thanks a lot for letting me know about that, so I can get a hold of him and say, hey, dude, did you know that you're a disabled vet? Did you know that you could get this, this? I don't know, maybe he didn't know, or I know that you guys are really well informed about all your benefits, because the guy's getting a check every month, a partial disability check. Yes, Foxconn. That's the ones that I was telling you, Michael. Though they're gonna eventually, we might see your iPhone coming out of Mexico. Believe it or not. Florida and Hawaii also have 100% service-connected veteran. Most all other states, it's a percentage of price. Okay, proposed value. Okay, I'll have to. I have a lot of old shirts from Los Muertos and El Ancho San Antonio. Yeah, you know what, Michael? All the international flights are coming out of Mexico City now. You're seeing a lot more come out of more airports. Even Querétaro, believe it, I actually went to, my wife had to fly to Albuquerque at one point to go to our house in Santa Fe, and she took a direct flight from Querétaro, of all places, direct to Albuquerque, New Mexico. So there's a lot more flights not having to go through Mexico City. When we first got here, we took a couple of trips where we ended up having to go through Mexico City. And I actually used to travel in Mexico City a lot for meetings with a lot of the directors. I used to meet a lot with the director of SAT, the director of immigration, did a lot of the PGR people here, but all their headquarters is in Mexico City. So when I used to go visit, that airport is a zoo. And I've been through the transfer terminal, and it's a zoo there too. So it's not too neat. Thanks for the interesting information. consider sourcing from a local merchant. Yeah, this supports local artisans. Actually, Blaine, that's what I did with that T-shirt that you see. And actually, those embroidered shirts were actually locally sourced. The only issue that I have with that and the shirt that you saw, what's his name, Brighton wearing, that shirt was actually locally sourced in Monterrey. I had a whole bunch of them. That's what I was giving away when I was doing giveaways. I just ran out. And then the other issue that I ran into was just shipping. Trying to ship them out was a nightmare. And I would have to use a company that does drop shipping. And that's what all these merch stores do. You basically, when you go onto YouTube and you buy a T-shirt from your creator, basically you're going through a merch store. It's all branded with their brand and everything else. But I don't know if you've noticed, but it's like a Shopify site. And then when you order the shirt, they print it up as you order it. So that would be the easiest way for me to actually get the merch stuff going. And then the other thing too is trying to, the other thing too is also trying to get it to where it ships to Mexico also, without having to deal with, or who deals with the duties, where like Amazon, where they charge you extra if there's duties, or I don't know if there is. I don't want people ordering, and I want to be able to make it international. Thanks for spending time with us before Semana Santa. Yeah, and I'm going to have to get going. We're really having a great, I always go over, and this one was almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. You know what? I try to keep it to an hour, but I've been averaging 1 hour and 20 minutes, and now I'm almost getting onto the 2 hour mark here. So, yes, Nature Lover, I know that, actually, like I said, actually, most of my stuff was my shirts, my polo shirts. And actually, I had one of these, but with my retired life in Mexico, and I locally sourced all the laser printing on the camelback from local people. That the only issue that I have is just finding the time to be shipping that stuff out everywhere, and then I have a big audience in the United States. So trying to get that stuff to the U.S., even on some of my giveaways, was costing me $30 to $40, not for the merchandise, $30 to $40 just to ship it. I didn't mind paying the $30 or $40, but logistically, I'm not sure how that would work. But like I said, I'll research into it. Or maybe there's a Mexican company that does merch. I'll just have to see. Most of the companies that do it, there's several companies that do it for YouTube, where they have YouTube integrations. That's probably the easiest thing for me to do, but I have to set up the store and all of that stuff. So I have to figure it out. So thank you, guys. You guys have a happy Easter and a happy Holy Week if you're Catholic. One thing that I want to say, a lot of big suppliers and blanks printers at Pueblo and Estado Mexico. Yeah, Jack, there is, but like I said, it would be just a matter of seeing if they drop ship. But one thing that I will explain to everybody about Semana Santa, somebody had said something here about being Catholic. This is a very highly influenced Catholic country. This week is Holy Week, of course, in the Catholic tradition. And this is when we celebrate Easter. Easter in the Catholic tradition has to do with the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So they celebrate that. The Catholics do. And of course, probably other religions do. I just know the Catholic religion does. And what Mexico has done, because now here's the thing about Mexico. They don't mix religion with politics in a sense. There's a separation of church and state, but it's predominantly Catholic. So probably maybe a lot of your policies are Catholic based or whatever. People here that aren't even religious, they still get baptized. They still get their sacraments of communion, because if you get married, you're going to get married in the Catholic Church. So it's a very big cultural thing here. And the whole week, and someone mentioned, I believe Everell mentioned that Holy Week here is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, or it's actually Thursday, Friday, but it starts off Sunday tomorrow, which is Palm Sunday, because that's when Jesus Christ came back. Whether you're religious or not, I'm just explaining the the tradition. And then normally Catholics in the United States, they go to church on Sunday, they listen to they get their palms, and then on Thursday, Friday is good, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and then you have Sunday, which is Easter Sunday. And then, of course, Thursday and Friday celebrate when Jesus had the Last Supper, and there's a lot of ritual things. But even though Holy Weeks is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then Sunday too, it's celebrated here for the whole week, okay? And it's sort of like spring break. When I made a comment today on my live that it's like spring break, people here don't get spring break for school, but everything shuts down here. But perfect example, the market here in San Miguel is on Tuesday and Saturday. Guess what? Nobody was at the market today. There was no booths up at the market. We actually went to the market today. I was going to do my live from the market. Hey, we're back in San Miguel. We're getting our vegetables. And nobody was there. It was closed. And that was probably because of Semana Santa. So that's what's going on. So, like I said, I got to go get to other things. Thanks a lot for joining me. And until next time, stay safe and stay informed.